She was a sex fiend. I met her in a hotel lobby, masturbating with a magazine. She said, how'd you like to waste some time? And I could not resist when I saw little Nicky grind. The castle started spinning, or maybe it was my brain. I can't tell you what she did to me, but my body will never be the same. Hey, says Rosen. Tim's here. Jose, Adam, Jonathan. Rosalick, you like, I miss it, got ahead of me. Berries I saw, licks I saw, ya boy. Lifers here. Cthulhu, Trevor, Adam, Brian, TKD, Diamond Dog, Gooberman, I like that. Wolverine's back. Hey, Steve, good to see you, Val. The deity's here. Harry Best. We're just talking, yesterday or the day before, I've forgotten which, Steve, we're talking about durations, length that people have been with us here at the channel. And I was looking to see you weren't in that day because I have to give Steve credit. Oh, for those who don't know, Steve is Assassin Exization. You just saw go by, scroll through on the chat. He does have, I don't even know who could, Steve, who could supplant you as far as being here the longest with any regularity. Now, gosh, I don't think there's anybody that I still see around at all that could become a regular that could supplant Steve. Because Steve came in, we started the channel in May 2011. I think Steve was with us by about June or July, maybe July or August. So he's winning. Yeah, Steve's on top, Lick says. I think so, Lick. I was trying to think back to that frame. Miss Mel came, I don't remember, Steve, who was here first? You were Miss Mel. But she really doesn't hang out at the channel much anymore. Every once in a while, we're still on social media together. She's a friend. And every once in a while, we'll chat via social media, via Twitter or something like that. But she's not a regular here. So yeah, Steve is a legend. I mean, he's been with us, again, long time. Going on 9 fucking years. Holy shit. Jeez. No, we didn't start out as a reaction channel, though, you boy. We've morphed depending on what we felt like doing at the time. We started out doing Call of Duty videos because I sucked so hard at Call of Duty. And at the time, Call of Duty videos were huge, but they were all brilliant players, people who just dominate the game. And I sucked ass, so we thought it'd be funny to have videos from somebody who sucked. And the only reason we got away from them is I finally started to improve, but I was never going to be good enough that it'd be entertaining to watch me from a positive perspective. I wasn't going to dominate. So I was just kind of middle of the road, and that just seemed kind of boring. The only thing we did do that used to be fun was the trolling. The trolling used to be a lot of fun regardless. Poppy's been 5 years? That sounds about right, Poppy. I try and remember you guys' well, again, you guys know me in memory. Try and put decent amount of date to you guys' screen name and stuff, but I get them all confused all the time. Yeah, the dinosaur dog's here, Lude. What's up? I bought her up one of those big, well, of course, see the size of her, one of those big rawhide bones yesterday, and she freaking loves that thing. This dog never stops eating. What do you want, Ohms? Nobody's at the door. And she ignored her dinner last night so she could keep chewing on her stupid rawhide. And I wasn't good enough to be a teabagger, Brian. I never got to teabag anybody because I never killed enough people. I got teabagged a lot, though. I guess I was a teabag receiver. Doing good, Pineapple Pizza fan. Okay, I just wanted to let a few of you get in. I know what the fuck is the word talkly? I don't know, but it's a word now. I decided. We talk a lot about the coronavirus, which I think everybody is, along with our 9 years dim memory is better than mine. Yeah, Steve. Again, I know you came in that summer, and we started in May of 2011, and you were with us by the summertime. We talk a lot about the coronavirus, and I saw a couple things today that were kind of a little bit under the radar. I don't know if you guys saw them. I thought I'd share them with you because I know most of you guys have A new word invented. I know, Star. They better put that shit in the dictionaries. M says, M, when you were always watching, I immediately read the whole portion of your post in Roz's voice from Monsters Inc. So M said, I've been here forever, always watching, always waiting for the right time. I like that. Talkly. Start using that word. I need you guys to back me up on that, because if enough people use a word, then it gets put into the dictionaries. So use Talkly every place appropriate. And since it's a nonsensical word, any place is appropriate then. So it should get a lot of use. Yeah, Alex. Wazowski. I can't do many impressions anymore. I don't know why I've always been able to do Roz. I used to be able to do a few of them, but not no more. Oh, I didn't hear this. Chrome says they've just announced there's going to be a live-action One Punch Man film by Sony. That'd be cool. It'll be from the writers of Venom and Jumanji. This could either be good or really bad. Yeah, true. I think that's true with any superhero movie, though, Chrome. But I hadn't heard that. That's cool. That is M's canonical voice, BG says. You guys are funny. Johnny Bravocado said, I became a fan because your 1v1s with Spaz Kid. We've had a lot over the... Well, of course, he destroys me in most... The only time I can beat him in video games is sometimes in sports games. That's about it. Other than that, he dominates me. Let's see. Okay, let me... First of all, did you guys hear that... hold on. Let me grab AD's post. The coronavirus is the reason why I'm not doing exams this year. Yeah, AD... Brax was just telling me, too. He got something from his college that... Brax, let me see if I... Am I explaining this to the gang right? We were talking about coronavirus and affecting the schools and stuff. Correct me if I'm wrong. He said basically at his college, if you have failed the course and you can show where the fact that you had to do distance learning was a major factor in that, you might be able to leverage that into a pass. Is that correct? Is that about it? Yeah. So yeah, it seems like all schools are, at least they're being smart enough to recognize that it was a hardship on a lot of people. But he was just telling me about that this morning. So again, what they would be willing to do if you can prove to them why this hardship hurt you academically, they'll change your grade to a pass-fail grade and give you a pass. I mean, I'm glad because I never paid attention in class anyway, AD. They're going to watch it through Zoom? I heard about that, Flame Enforcer. I've heard about some place they're going to be doing that. It'll be Zoom meetings for the tests. I did hear about that. The Naruto reactions, Diamond Dog? Yeah, Naruto was fun. Oh, but anyway, I was starting to say, hold on, let me grab Xeno Games. Oh, I know they say we're reaching the peak of the virus, but you still need to know that people are still dying throughout the time. Absolutely. Absolutely. Without a question, Xeno. I mean, it's horrific no matter how you look at it. But there has to be a point where we start trying to get back to normal. And the thing that the problem is everybody wants to argue about, I don't mean you guys, but in general, people want to argue about that getting back out there on a larger scale, and you can't do it on a larger scale. I don't believe. I mean, places like New York City obviously are going to take a lot longer than like where I live, just upstate, where we have hardly any cases, and social distancing is the nature of where we live because there's not that many people around. So, but it's got to start happening. M says, I got to drive so I can't stay, but have a good day, old man. If I can hop back on before it's over, I will. Okay, M, we'll watch for you. Thanks for being in while you could. I mean, just because you're driving, watch it anyway. M, don't buy into all that. Come on, I know you better than that. You don't buy into the hype. You can watch your device and pay enough attention to the... No, I like to make jokes like that, and then we find, even totally unrelated, we find out M had an accident. I'd feel really, really bad. Ivan, thanks, Ivan. I appreciate it. What's he saying? Get gup. I am so simple that seriously, those dopey little illustrations just delight me to no end. Those super stickers. over a month, so there's been no exams apparently. Yeah, Chrome. That's what a lot of people. We just got closed in New York. Now we're through May 15th. But the big thing here is, and Cuomo, our governor, he can't keep up with them. Yesterday he addressed it and said, well, yeah, different parts of the state are going to have to be opened up at different levels, which, duh, no shit. It's hard to find a state with a more wildly diverse way of life throughout the state, except maybe California is similar. So it was like, that should have been a no-brainer. And then today, he didn't even address that at all, and he was back to, the hardcore, hey, I said this is going to be the way. If there's anybody, he's another blustering politician. If you're mad about this, don't be mad at your local government. Be mad at me, like he's trying to accept the responsibility. He's jerking himself off. But anyway, did you guys hear that out in California, they just determined that a person who had died back on February 6th had the coronavirus? And I know not everybody follows it as closely as I do. The reason that's a big deal is that's a month before we thought the first death in America took place. Now, they've discovered 2 other people have had it much earlier than we thought, too, February 17th and March 3rd, I think it was. But the reason that could potentially be a really, really big deal is they believe this person who had it on the 6th got it through community spread. I guess there was no reason to believe that that person had been to an already infected area, because we all know it came from China. If China, of course, this wouldn't be as big an earth-shattering piece of information if China was upfront with the world about what went on over there, but they aren't, so we have to guess at everything. The reason this is a big deal is if this virus has been in and among us much longer than we thought, the upside is the death rate is much lower than we thought, and one would hope, by what the epidemiologists say, that these coronaviruses typically have their own curve anyway, that you can only affect so much, that we should be further along towards the down spot of it. So, let's see. Chrome says, well, Curtis, in China, we've had a case of at least 2 people who've had the disease in critical condition for over 3 months. Yeah, and that's the thing, though, Chrome. You can't really put any faith into anything they say, because they've proven it over and over and over. They will give out the information that they want people to have, and if it's fictional, that's fine. So you kind of got to take everything. That's what hurts, is you got to take everything China says with a grain of salt. But anyway, as far as us here in the U.S., that would back up what those testing they did at USC and Stanford, where their tests showed that they feel maybe 50 times more people have already had it than we initially expected, just from those tests that they did. It's a glimmer of a little bit of hope, a little bit of good news about the whole thing, because if a lot more people have had it, it puts us a lot further along the curve and makes the virus at least less lethal per capita. Damn, since February. Yeah, early February too, Steve. And the big thing within that was, again, they believe that this person who died from it, they died at their home. Poor person, we didn't know at the time what was going on. They probably just thought they had the flu, something along those lines. So, but if they did get it from community spread, who knows how long it's been here? Who knows? Glenn Akers says, I saw a theory that is the second wave because there were people back in October with pneumonia-like symptoms. Doctors don't know what it was. It leans towards that too, Glenn. That's a good point. They brought that up as well. Some of the experts who took in this information said, well, it could be that what we're seeing right now is the second wave, and they believe if the second wave is this big, it would likely be the final wave, because so many people have been infected, and the majority of the scientists researching this do believe, as we had talked about, that this particular strain of the coronavirus is one of the ones that will build antibodies. So in other words, once you get it, you shouldn't get it again. But it's just, and any little bit of good news is nice to hear. And if that's the case, we might be way ahead of things from where we thought they were. Johnny says China's trustworthy level is the same as mine, which is in the negative percentile. Yeah, and really, it's so unfortunate that the virus emanated from there, and we can trust absolutely zero of the information that comes out of China. None of it. So that's what put I that the fact that they lie constantly to me is as big as, or maybe even more egregious than the fact that they allow those goddamn wet markets to go on and continue creating diseases like this. I think that's an even bigger deal because nobody can get ahead of it because nobody knows, at ground zero, nobody knows what went on. Zeno says, to me, the virus should have been tackled throughout February time. Even if it was big or not, they should have noticed this sooner than later. My way would have been better to get the situation handled. Well, yeah, I mean, I agree with that in hindsight, Zeno, but I've been reading, studying up on this as best as I could ever since it became a thing. And I know a lot of people are saying, well, back in February, Trump should have done this, governor should have done that. I wouldn't have thought to do that back then, to be honest with you, with the information we had. So, you'd have to throw me. I'm just being honest. I could revise history if I wanted to say, yeah, I knew it, and I was wondering why we weren't shutting down. Back in February, I would have been appalled with what we knew at that time if they had said they wanted to shut everything down. So I guess all just depends on on how you look at it. But I was following it closely, and there was nothing. And it's again because of China lies that would have made me believe that we would have this type of issue in America. The way of life in China is so different, and it was so difficult to get information out of them about exactly what was happening. I mean, come on. How long was it that they were trying to tell us that it wasn't even human-to-human transmission? Way past the point where they knew goddamn well it was human-to-human, and the WHO backed them up on it too. So given all that poor information in February, I wouldn't have been a proponent of shutting things down. That's good, AD. Corona says, you fools, this isn't even my final form. That's kind of might be what we're looking at here. That's good. You guys are funny. Little baby says coronavirus effed up the class of 2020. Sure did. That's sad. I feel bad for all the seniors in classes out there, whether it's high school, college, whatever, and not getting to walk the stage and everything. It sucks ass. Chrome says, personally, everything I saw made me realize this would be really bad. I argued with you about this and chat months ago about how dangerous it could get. And again, that's good. If you thought it was going to be dangerous, that's fine. From what I was getting for information, obviously any disease can be dangerous. It wasn't a question of whether it could. I didn't have enough knowledge to believe that this was going to happen. Then you're just smarter than me. What can I tell you? I read up on it all the time. And back in February, there was nothing that made me believe that it was going to get to this degree here in America. The lockdown should be implemented earlier when they found out the virus is asymptomatic. But in fairness, Ocho, they didn't realize to what magnitude, what number of people it's asymptomatic for then much, much more recently. Then back in March, they were really starting to get an understanding on that. They still don't have an idea. I mean, it's late April, and they're still coming to the conclusion that even more people are asymptomatic, and that's what this is all pointing out, are even more asymptomatic than what they had believed. I mean, that we still don't know how many people. Now, again, these two studies they did in California saying 50, maybe 80 times more people had it than we thought. That's crazy. Axie says, I sense that the virus has gained a new form and is not showing its true power. And the other thing that came out was this is just minor detail. It's just, again, anything that points to a little bit of positives I like to share with you guys. Oh, hold on. Let me grab Loki's. But well, you'll see. This isn't like as big a deal in and of itself as the first one. Smokey Loki says, and thank you for the magenta sky. I knew I was going to get it. I almost stumbled on it. Oh, and M just left. She would have been proud of me. I got magenta again. Damn. The Chinese government doesn't fully grasp the consequences of their actions regarding COVID-19. I think you're correct there. Not only have they refused to take the blame, they've also stepped on the toes of the world's nations, and tensions between them and us could not be higher. I agree. And the thing of it is, Loki, if tensions between the entire world and China aren't ratcheted up because of this, then something's wrong. Be- as bad as it was, again, that they allow these things to happen over there, but the constant lying, particularly the denial that it was being transmitted from person to person, that's just amazing. It's just beyond the pale. It's allowing so many more people to die. We could have known so much more about this. Why I smell that smells like rose. And again, I always mention it because we always have new people in here. The debate about what color sky that is, you see the $50 chat that Smokey Loki just made. We gave names to all those different colors. We call it the sky because obviously it stays at the top of the chat. The argument over what to call that was finally settled on as magenta. It was the Spaz Boys comedy / Goosh Goosh version of the coronavirus before the coronavirus. It almost took us all down. We didn't almost recover. Xenogame says Corona's quirk spread. It's highly contagious. Weakness. Wash hands. Yeah, and the good thing, the thing that a lot of people don't tend to factor in when they talk about us resuming life, you can't assume that when we start to resume things, you're going to have the exact same, and that's what the whole, again, the extremists always want you to believe, that you're going to have the same effect that you did initially, because, I mean, people are aware now, even when you start to go back, people are still going to be washing their hands. I think, which is a really big one, hopefully people are going to be shit-canning the whole shaking hands, hugging as ways of greeting one another. That's a big one to me. It just, knowing how this virus, and the flu virus for that matter, is transmitted, it's a good idea to be done with it. But given that people have this ingrained into their mind now, and there will be so much more careful, when we do start getting back out there, of course it's gonna stir up some more cases. But I don't think it's going to be as extreme as what we saw, the first time through. Chrome says, isn't one of the states in the U.S. preparing to file charges against China? Yeah, I read that too, Chrome. I forgot who. I just read it this morning. Given how many millions of faulty supplies they've knowingly sent out, they should be hammered. Yeah, yeah, they are, Chrome. I forgot who it was. I just read that this morning too. And people, the thing of it is, you got to hope that this is a case where it's not going to be left for, America to be the only one out there on the front line challenging China on this. The rest of the world should be too. It's one of the things where everybody should be able to be of one mind. These fuckers are not only living in a system that propagates this type of disease, then they're lying about it so, they can make sure that a bunch more people die from it too because they don't want to be held accountable. Glenn says, it's Super Saiyan Rosé, not magenta. Oh, that day, I'll never forget the arguments that day. I laughed so hard. It's one of the reasons why I love you guys so much, why I love this community so much. Because I like the fact that that's the stuff that's a big deal to us. Missouri, thank you, Gooberman. I couldn't remember where it was. He's right. It's Missouri that's filing suit against China. And hopefully they aren't alone. Again, everybody should be after China over this. And when they say that, it's like, I'm not talking about nuking them, but they should have a price to pay. They should absolutely have a price to pay. And we're going to bear some of that price too, because we got to stop relying on them to make all our shit for us. It just, because of the way they do things, we need to do that to protect ourselves. Light Zoinks Gaming says, Shonen Jump was on hiatus this week because of the Rona. Japan is finally doing social distancing. Yeah, well, I think Japan was generally not hit as hard too, because I tell me if you guys agree, I think Japan has more of a social distancing way of life, because we all know they wear, a lot of the people there wear masks when they're out in public all the time to, help contain the spread of disease. And as I mentioned, as much as I'm old school and I like a good handshake as a greeting, I have no problem with ditching them because Japan and a nice a nice polite bow is a much better method of greeting. And they also, there's so much about respect and everything. I think it's easier with the Chinese if the government says, okay, this is what we know. We don't have to force you to do XYZ because if we tell you, okay, doing XYZ will make everybody in a safer place, I think Japan is one of the places in the world where you would have almost 100% buy in because of that respect factor. I mean, that's just my opinion. Zeno says, I have to go to work now. Hope it's a short night. Bye. Okay, well, thanks, Zeno. Thanks for being in while you could, pal. I think that Japan is ahead of the game just because of that. Yeah, bigger screen that says no more made in China. And yes, that'll cost us more because, over here, when you have something manufactured, you don't pay people 30 cents an hour to make it. So it is going to cost us more for certain goods. But I think it costs us a lot less in the long run to do much less business with China. Edgar says, my boss asked me to come in 30 minutes early to work today. I said, I'm at the store getting supplies. I lied. I'm at home watching Fast Boys. Boy, Edgar. At first, I thought you were leading to a I'm at soup joke. That's what you should have done when he called you and asked you to come in early. You should have said, "I'm at soap," and just hung up the phone. But no, I like being the actual reason that for you not going in early as needing a disguise so you could be with us. I like that. Like Zoinks Gaming says, watch out for the three-pronged attack from Corona Zorro. Also, can we get the Demolition Man high to come back? Check it out for a funny gif. Okay, the Demolition Man high? I'm not sure what you're saying. Demolition Man high. Hold on a second. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I'm reading your post right, Zoinks. Demolition Man gifts. Oh, high five. I didn't see. I never saw that one. Demolition Man, wasn't that a Stallone movie? I'm not seeing him in any of. Oh yeah, there he is. He's in some of the gifts. I didn't even know that was a thing. I didn't like Demolition Man, the movie. I saw years ago when it first came out, but I never did the high five. Krusty Bomb says, interviewer, why do you want this job? Me. I've just always been very passionate about not starving to death. And you know what? I think in a lot of places, that's exactly the kind of answer that would get you a job. Was Nick Cage in it too? I don't know. I know Stallone was in it. I remember that, Gooberman. Nick Cage might have been too. But I know Stallone was in that one. I like The Expendables was good, Blues. Yeah, Expendables was good. Chrome says, don't forget Japan is pushing its manufacturing out of China and bringing it home. Iran is pissed and calling it a bioweapon, so others are fighting back. Yeah, I'm glad they are, Chrome. That's right. I've forgotten about that with Japan. Japan is making a very concerted effort. Well, not an effort. It's a done deal. They're going to get manufacturing out of China. And that's what the whole world needs to do. Yeah, and Iran's pissing them off, too. And that's how it should be. I mean, again, I don't have any sympathy. You motherfuckers turned another virus loose on us because of those goddamn wet markets. And then you go back to... Easy there, giant dog. And then you go back to having the wet markets open. Fuck you. And then, like I say, the worst part is the lying. The lying was the worst, because that's what really set everybody back. The handshake between Carl Weathers and Arnie and Predator is so homoerotic. You remember that one, Johnny? The biceps as they do that. I remember that. I remember even laughing at that in the theater when I saw it, and that was long before the days of memes. But thanks again for the... And I had to think again. Magenta Sky, okay, appreciate it. As Curtis gets home from seeing his favorite baseball team in the finals, the smell of meat hits his nose. Following the scent to his bedroom, he finds a sultry Nico Robin dressed in a satin robe and lying on his bed holding a plate of juicy ribs. That would be it. I mean, after that takes place, life's over. And I go out as happy as can be. It just... Something like that... And my favorite baseball team to win, they haven't won a world championship since 1979. So I'm 41 years 41 years away from it. So you're starting with that, finishing with Nico, Robin, and me. There, I would have the greatest time ever, and then there'd be no reason to keep going on. Life is not at any point going to get better than that. I've peaked. The dog is sneezing, put into quarantine. Lude says, yeah, she sneezes all the time. Why do you sneeze so much? Huh? Don't know? What are you looking for? Is your boy annoying you? Huh, that annoys me. So when you blow at me, or you have a water bottle. You guys all know about the water bottle, of course, huh, Ooms? Oomy. Here we go. Well, it's just a water bottle, Ooms. Oomy, just a water bottle. Don't knock our stuff down. I'm just teasing you. All right. I'm putting it away. I put it away. It's all gone. All gone. Okay. 125, 130 or so pounds, and water bottles antagonize the shit out of her. Don't. Wolverine says, "Don't shoot that man. Isn't African American. Bark water bad." It's the weirdest thing. For those of you who don't know, all that happened was my wife. One time, this was just a couple weeks ago, was downstairs. She's drinking water out of a bottle, and she honestly went to give Umzi a drink of it. So, because typically, if you hold a water bottle up and pour it, the dog will let it land on their tongue and drink it. She got pissed. She thought my wife was teasing her. So then, of course, my wife thinks it's funny, so she hit her a couple more times with it, and now you break out a water bottle. And the funny thing is, she isn't scared because, as you see, she's wagging her tail. She just gets worked up. She wants to fight you, and then. That's what she was doing over at Braxton Stuff over there. If you show her a water bottle or something, she goes and she tries to find your shit and she'll knock it over. She knocks your stuff down. Zoe says, I know that feeling, man. I'm a Cubs fan. 108-year drought. Yeah, you do. You Cubs fans and Red Sox fans are some of the only people that, baseball-wise, have had it worse than me. True. And at least you guys have had something good go your way recently. Me, again, 79 was it. And then that 79 team ended up was all a bunch of druggies. It wasn't even guys you could, like, rally around. Let's see. All right. Crust Bound, that's my jokes for the day. Barry says, Dino Dog could beat Curtis' ass in a fight. Debate a wall. I tell you what, Barry, when we wrestle around, again, with the martial arts I've taken, a couple of them would teach you techniques for dealing with a dog attack. And like most dogs, she's close to us, so she would never hurt us. But she knows to show, like, if we're fighting and we're trying to get advantage over other, if she could bite me, what she'll do is she'll swing her face right by my arm or whatever and snap the air. And it's just like, she's never bitten me, but that's to show you that it's like, okay, asshole, I had you right there. I could have got you. So I would say when her and I get down and really get after it, I probably win 80% of the time, but there is definitely that. And the only reason I win 80% of the time is because dogs are so predictable in how they'll go about fighting you. But what's he doing, Ooms? Don't let him hit me. Uma. Don't ow. Yeah, tell him. Good girl. Tell him don't. Ow. Tell him, Oomy. Tell him don't hit. Ooms. He's going to hit me. Oomy. Oom. Ow. Get him, Oom. Get him. Tell him. Good girl. And then she looks over at the Pops, because if one of the Pops falls off the table, it scares the shit out of her, because she's scared of everything. Oh, I took a bunch of different martial arts when I was younger, Strug. I just always had an interest in fighting. First one I got instructed in was Muay Thai, because we just had a guy in our gym who was a fantastic Muay Thai fighter. And then I've taken bits and pieces of others, basically just stuff. I was a gym rat my whole life. So you would come across guys who were proficient in different forms of martial art, and I'd always pick their brains and try and, learn whatever I could. Zoink says, you heard it here. Curtis is going to do personal training live streams so that fat people like me can get in shape. Curtis is a fat people. Let me tell you, Zoinks. I got it. And the thing of it is, the eating. It's so easy to eat, even easier now, because even though, having to stay in doesn't affect what I do day to day, because you guys know what I do day to day is this stuff. But it's when I'm away from the camera. Now I'm not outside because, well, I got my basketball sitting right here. I like to go up to in the good weather, go up to the local school and shoot baskets, or Braxton and I go out and play catch and all that stuff. And with not being out to do that stuff, it makes a huge difference. Plus, I really need to get back to the gym. I wish I had a place in the house that was big enough just to set up, you know, a bench, get a bunch of free weights, and work out like I did in the old days. I do miss that. Curtis the Globetrotter. Sergeant Renegade, when I was a kid, I was as big a Harlem Globetrotter nerd as you'll ever see. I don't know why. I thought they were the funniest thing ever. You guys know how much I love random humor. I always have. And once a year, Wide World of Sports, once every year, they would show a Globetrotter game. I couldn't wait for that one every year. I remember I lived in Phoenix for a short time when I was a teenager. I was in my early teens, and my family never had any money, and there was actually enough money scraped together. I got to go see the Globetrotters. It was like, no, I love those guys. I'm eating better now, home cooking for quarantine. I wish I was eating better like Zoinks. Well, see, and the thing is, I can't cook. My wife's a brilliant cook, and that's on me and my limited tastes, because all the stuff that's good for you, I don't like. So it makes it extra difficult. Whereas my wife, if she wants to cut down, I go out and because I've been going out. I don't have her go out. She's got asthma. So I buy her bags and bags of like these baby carrots and stuff, and she'll just sit there and crunch on them all evening. And me, if I want a snack, it's going to be something chocolate and sugar and gross and just loaded with things that make my heart stop. Straga says, sorry, I had to get up and take my headphones off and check on the dogs outside who were going ape shit. And of course, nothing was there. I swear dogs are straight up insane sometimes. We get the same thing here, Straga. We do the same things here. Giggity goo. So, we were already talking about that, pal. There were studies conducted throughout Stanford and USC. Yeah, we were just talking about that. And even further, the discovery today of that fuck off train, a person who died on February 6th or 7th, 6th, who died on February 6th had the coronavirus out in California. And again, that's those two things, what you're mentioning there, those studies, and knowing that as a fact go hand in hand, that this thing has been with us a lot longer. It's been with us longer than we have thought, and potentially a lot longer than we have thought. Stormstar says, the closest thing I did to martial arts was get a sash and bow staff. Disarm someone using a wooden sword, and the others who laughed at me for choosing a staff were wide-eyed. Nice. Hey, yeah, that's the thing with most fighting forms like that. They talk about which one is superior. Well, you can start talking about superior when you have two absolutely brilliant experts going against one another. But as far as regular guys on the street having at it, the one that's going to be superior is the one who's more proficient in his discipline, typically. Chrome says, so how many G100 vids are there left for this month, by the way? Because it's been a super busy month. Oh, yeah, we broke the record, Chrome. Here, hold on, let me pop open my... let me pop it out for all of you. My file here. Okay, we have a total now of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Are you guys all impressed with me counting? 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 2, and I just counted wrong. I can't actually count. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 23. I thought I had 24. It's showing 23 here. I hope I got everybody in here. No, I guess it is 23. I have 23 for the month, 4 of them left to go. For the month, we have left another gameplay of Oxenfree. We just played the first episode last month. Some more Horizon Zero Dawn from BTG. Another Card Captor Sakura from Darkslifer. And a reading, actually, from BTG. Sponsored that as well. That's going to be interesting. I think it's like a fan written thing to do with. I haven't looked at it yet because I want the reading to have a real reaction to the reading. on Naruto, some scenes from Naruto, or some situations from Naruto. So that's what we got left. We got 4 to go for the month, and we have a total of 23. I believe our prior record was 19, so it's not even close. Echolorian, well, thanks. I appreciate that. Oh, UFC 1 was different martial arts against each other. Yeah, the first few, Niall. The first ones were just you threw in anybody there. You had sumos in there, and that's where, of course, Hoist Gracie was just lighting people up. And again, that to me is more of a case of, like I said, where you have people who are experts in their field, and that's where you started to see how potent Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was. But I mean, in normal day-to-day street fights and stuff, a lot of times the winner isn't, even if somebody's really good at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, if somebody else is Muay Thai, and it just so happens that the guy who trains in Muay Thai is just better at it than the guy who trains in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, even if BJJ happens to be superior discipline, he's probably going to lose just based on physicality. Gimster says, only forms of martial arts I got was boxing and wrestling my brothers. I won the boxing matches and most of the wrestling matches, all bare knuckle. Yeah. We used to do that, when we were kids, when I was at my cousin's house in Schenectady, we used to do that in the neighborhood there. And then, of course, they weren't bare knuckle, but the underground fights I used to do up in Sacramento, or outside of Sacramento, California, they were pretty brutal. Steve says, just had to go downstairs for a bit. Not a euphemism. What did I miss? The same old shit. Hey, Rick, good to see you. Once I was fighting my older brother and he was beating me, so I yelled, fuck your mom, not realizing she's also my mom. I had said something similar before on stage, Ragav. I used to talk about how some insults do not have the proper impact depending on who you say them to. And one of the examples I always gave was saying, your mother's a whore to your brother. Because, again, you're going to piss him off, but nobody really wins. There's no martial arts in Scotland, only brutal bare-knuckle hooks. That's what I've heard, Goober Man. I've known a couple of really, really tough Scots in my life. Both of them when I lived in California, as a matter of fact. Oh, I'll just get to it, because the other thing I wanted to tell you guys just real quick about the coronavirus, because I thought you might be interested. Where is it here? I kept it in Israel. Let me find the details. They got this COVID-19 treatment. Now it's only been used on a few people because, again, it's only in dire cases now, compassionate use. Israeli-based Pluristem. Now this comes from the website. I just like to give credit where it's due. It's jpost.com. Has treated its first American patient suffering from COVID-19 complications. It's a placenta-based cell therapy product. They've had 100%. They only used it on 6 people in compassionate use. It's been 100% effective. But the reason that's a big deal, because you could say, 6 people, wow, considering less than 1% of people die from it anyway. No, these people were all critical. These people were on the verge of death. It's like, bring in hospice. It's time to go. Every single one of them. And every single one of them came back from the abyss. So it was just, does it mean a lot for that? And then the article is very upfront about it. No, not with those small numbers. However, anytime you get anything that works at 100% when people were on death's door, just gives you something else to potentially look forward to. Let's hope. I don't really know how to play baseball, Daniel Lord says. Oh, I love baseball, Daniel. Loved it. Well, you guys know I'm a member of the over 55 league, and our season was supposed to start in a week. It's been officially pushed back to May 15th and probably going to go further now. We don't know if we're going to get to play or not. After all these years, I was finally going to get to play organized ball again, and fuck you, Corona. Fuck you, China. Little baby, I love football too. Well, I don't know. We're talking American football or football soccer? Because I never got into soccer, but again, it's because I was always into the heavy, other than baseball, the heavy contact of sport and everything, I guess. Oh, American football. Yeah, I'm a Cowboy fan too. But for American football, I'm more into college than I am pro. It's all about Notre Dame. Johnny says people say baseball is boring, but I love watching it. Me too. Especially watching Trout play. Oh, Trout's ridiculous. What a freaking monster Mike Trout is. You just he's just one of those rare athletes in a sport where you can't overstate how great he really is. He's just ridiculous. God damn. Waterground says, honestly, I just start fights not to be a bully. It's just because I get off on the rush and adrenaline. Well, that was kind of me too, Waterground. When I used to get into fights, I hate bullies. But the fact was, if I got into a fight with somebody, it was because somebody was like-minded, the same as me, and wanted to get into a fight. It was no fun to pick on people that didn't want to fight. There were always plenty. There's always plenty of people around that want a good go round. That's why I say there's no excuse for bullying. Because if you want to fight, you can find somebody else that wants to as well. You don't have to pick on somebody who doesn't. Barry says, did you see Jerusalem, the Jewish people who made the pilgrimage to the Holy Land for Passover started coughing on cops and calling them Nazis because the police were stopping them from going? No, I didn't see. Oh, geez. See, that's... Huh. You'd think, well, it's never going to happen, especially here in America. You'd like to think that people could just take it down a notch with the hatred of the other side, but it just intensifies it. It is what it is. Loki says, I live in California, and there's a lot of people here that need a beating, so if you're ever in the neighborhood, hit me up. We'll toss some assholes. We'll stop by the steakhouse after. I'm for that, Smokey Loki. Well, this gym I'm talking about, when I was boxing, I was in California. Whereabouts in California are, Loki? I mean, you don't have to be specific. North, South, Central. I was in Vacaville, which, if you're not familiar, it's just about right in the middle between Sacramento and San Francisco on Interstate 80. So it'd be northern central. But yeah, that's where I was when I did all the boxing. The wrestling I've done throughout the country, different places I've lived. But pretty much all of my competitive boxing was in California. Lick says Nazis in football. Chrome says some people are just monsters. If you intentionally do that, it should be treated the same as deadly assault with the intent to kill. I agree. It's just the same as, you had a few cases at one time of people with AIDS going out there intentionally picking up sex partners trying to transmit it to them. Same thing there. I agree. Thoughts on the plasma treatment? Sounds like they're getting some good results from it, Ocho. What I've read so far, for those who don't know, it's plasma from people who have already had the disease and defeated it. It's sounds, there's a lot of things that are sounding promising. Let's just hope one or better yet more come to fruition and we can take this down before we get the eventual, you hope, vaccine that will eliminate it. Johnny says Trout is legit above average at every aspect of the game. Oh, absolutely. He reminds me a lot. I mean, not in physique because he's a bigger guy, but in game from my all-time favorite player, which was Roberto Clemente, also an outfielder, and same thing. Clemente could do everything. The only thing Clemente had, and a lot of people, of course, you guys are younger generation, don't realize it, but Roberto Clemente, when he came in, he actually had world-class speed. They had him run a 60-yard dash when he was trying, because he was in the Dodger organization, didn't play for the Dodgers, but he played in their organization, and they had him run a 60-yard dash, and he ran it I think it was 6'5", which is sprinter's speed. He was crazy athlete. Hey, M's back says, did you miss me? Just kidding. I know you did. Chrome says, used to, that's still a thing. They're called gift givers, and they're a big issue in gay communities in California. Really? No, I didn't know that was still going on. You'd like to think that people would become less vile as time goes on, but I guess that's asking too much. Barry says, gotta hit the road, Curtis. Gotta go brave the elements and get soda and chips from the grocery store. Mom says, bye and stay sexy. Oh, well, thanks for being here while you could, Barry. Thanks to your mom, and tell her I got no choice. Wait a second. I'm gonna hit your mom and all of you with my sexy look now. Now, I should probably take my monitor down because it gets me all fluttered after I do it. Wait a second. There you go. Everybody's. I got to use the word. I'm sorry, Em. Everybody's moist right now. Peter says some people in America move so far from where they used to live. You lived in Cali before, right? Yep. That's the same thing. I would move from Netherlands to Greece or something. Yeah. Well, I lived all over, Peter. I did a lot of moving around when I was younger, just to see where I liked. But I'm from where I live now. This is where I was born, and I went to school here and everything. But then I lived in California, lived in Oregon for a short time, Phoenix, Arizona for a short time, Roswell, New Mexico for several years, and then ended up back here near home again. Excuse me. Andrew says he calls that look the penny dropper. I hadn't before, but that's a good one, Andrew. That is what it's called now. Kinderus says, "Are you aware of the second curve, the economic downturn, senselessness pandemic that will overwhelm hospitals faster than COVID-19?" I'm not understanding completely, Candace. The second curve being economic, yeah, well, sure, that's the balancing act we're at right now. I mean, at what point is, as they say, the cure worse than the disease? And I don't agree with what Cuomo said today when presented with that no, we're talking about death. Death is the worst thing. Listen, death is a part. We're all going to die eventually. That's not so. When you make it absolutes like that, you're saying that, okay, if you die because your business goes on, and we know this happened. We have history of this where you can see when there's been economic despair, you have all types of suicides. You have all generally the rates, and that's already happened. The rates of domestic abuse go up and everything because people are stressed and strained to their max. So I don't agree with what he was talking about today. I think you do have to figure out how to start working things slowly back open, but with an eye towards the reality we now live in. Cuomo has become, he thinks, in a lot of what he says, at least to me, he speaks to everything from New York City terms. New York City has been hit worse than any place in the nation, possibly in the world, as far as individual cities. You can't put that same onus or those same plans in place for the rest of the world that apply to New York, and he does tend to forget that at times. Gimster says, back in his day, my granddad was among the best fighters in town, and nobody wanted to piss him off. Guys that were over 6 foot didn't want to fight him. He's 5'9", was self-taught on how to beat ass. There's a lot of guys that are just naturally tough, Gimster. I agree. And to be honest with you, in my fighting, whether it's street fighting or in-ring fighting, in my experiences, yeah, size isn't as big an issue as a lot of people would make it out to be. Some of the worst ass beatings I've taken were from guys substantially smaller than me. It's about what you know, how much punishment you're able to take, and how effective you are at doling it out. And that doesn't know a lot of limitations of size. I agree with that. Jack Queen says, I was also not taught how to beat ass yet. Here I am. Well, thanks, Harrison. That's nice of you to say. Krusty Bomb says, this total lockdown is screwing my brain. I beat my handstand push-up record. That's cool. Started with 10 before the lockdown. Now the current record is 17. No supports whatsoever. That's cool. With no supports, no feet against the wall. I used to be able to do them with feet against the wall. I can't anymore. I could never do them freestanding. My balance isn't good enough. There's almost too many sex puns happening, Jack Queen says. Imagine having the knockout power of Mike Tyson, Steve says. Oh, I can't. Wow. Even just, and it wasn't that long ago, I watched old boxing videos a lot. I was always a huge boxing fan. And just watching the way he uncoiled a punch. And you can't even say a specific punch. I know he had a nasty left hook. But every punch Mike Tyson threw was with deadly intensity. Jesus Christ. He was a coiled spring, man. That guy was. And he's become one of my favorite celebrities. Mike Tyson Mysteries is one of my favorite shows that on TV right now. I freaking love that. And seeing him in interviews and stuff now, he just cracks me up. I've just gotten to really like him. He was actually he was in basically a prison for teens for kids. That's just up the road from me. It's gone now. They just closed it a few years ago. But that's the man who first discovered him. His name's gone in my head. It's Bobby. I've forgotten his last name. He worked out with all of us. I worked out at a YMCA in Amsterdam, New York, that is also now closed. Oh, why is Bobby's last name won't come to me? But anyway, Bobby was down there with us all the time. He worked out with us, and he's the one who actually discovered Tyson and brought him to Custom Auto in Catskill because Bobby worked as a guard at that prison. So yeah, so we've got a connection to him up here, and I just really I like the guy. He cracks me up. Chrome says, during the quarantine, I've learned to model grass, flowers, and trees now. Also caught up on One Piece, read 4 volumes of Dr. Stone, started Iruma-kun, beat 3 games, played 50-plus hours of Animal Crossing. Oh, my wife is addicted to Animal Crossing, Chrome. We got her Animal Crossing and a Switch for her birthday on April 2nd, and yeah, she's like way into it. She's been playing the hell out of it. Excuse me. Jar says, did you hear about the lady the police arrested because she let her kids play at the park without a mask? Crazy, trying to be as authoritarian as possible. Yeah, I did, and that's a tough one, Jar. I see both sides of it because the cops did. I would have liked to seen the cops refuse to arrest her. I would have put it that way. But she did ask them to, literally. I mean, because she was making a stand, and I do understand what she's saying, and that it's a beautiful day and the kids are outside playing, and if you're doing it in a respectful way, you can't expect us to just keep hiding in our houses. We know what's out there. We know what avenues to take to protect ourselves as best we can. So it's unfortunate that it ended up in an arrest. It's putting a lot of people in really, really tough spots. Really tough spots. I think I don't know. I just don't know. Do I know that Bruce Lee explains the concept of Ultra Instinct? I know that Bruce Lee, his thoughts on the metaphysical are actually pretty cool. I enjoy reading them. I would assume that falls into that category is what you're talking about. Smokey Loki says, experience aside, I think the best physical build for fighting is stocky with a low center of gravity and solid muscle mass. To me, being tall often, not always, puts you at a disadvantage. I'm 6'3". Oh, certainly, especially in boxing, Loki, because it's when you got long arms, first of all, you're always punching down, which, of course, you don't have a whole hell of a lot of leverage when you're punching down. And if a fighter is skilled enough with head movement, foot movement to get inside of you, it becomes difficult when you have those big, long arms. There was a guy, you guys probably won't remember, but the Cowboys back in the 70s had a big lineman they called Too Tall, Ed Too Tall Jones. And he quit playing football for a couple of years because he wanted to be a boxer. And that was the big thing, the problem he ran into. His arms were too long. You would think, okay, you got that great reach. But once you're inside that reach, it actually becomes difficult. You have too much arm to work with. And, experienced boxers figured this out right away. So even if they had to eat a jab or two from him, once you got inside, they could get in there and just rough him up. And he ended up going back to football. Yeah, Em. I tell you, I assume you're still talking about the same game. My wife loves it, Em. She's having a blast with. Braxton's been playing with her too. Animal Crossing.
Oh yeah.
Brax has a character too, and so what they can do is they play together on it, and one character is the leader, and the other one has to stay with the leader. But they both get to play their characters, and she's having a blast with it. But again, it all depends on what you like. For me, it wouldn't be as big a thing because I just don't enjoy those types of games. I like shooters and stuff like that, but she's having an absolute blast with it. Stormstar says, NHS worker told me that wearing masks can do just as much harm as good depending on the material of the mask, as the heat and moisture your breath attracts bacteria and helps them thrive. I've heard that too, Stormstar. Again, I can't comment from a personal perspective because one thing I'm definitely not as a scientist, but I have heard that. I've heard that from others. Chrome says they're going to bring out a big update for Animal Crossing tomorrow as well. So new shops, bushes, and other stuff. So there's going to be even more in the game. So, I'll tell her that. I don't know if she knew that or not. I'll tell her that, Chrome. Yeah, she's way into it. She was just when I went to bed last night, she was downstairs playing it. She likes it. Trevor says, I heard of Ed Too Tall Jones. He gave Mean Joe trouble in those two Super Bowls. Yeah. Yeah, he was a hell of a lineman, Too Tall. He, at one point, I don't know if it was for a season or a career, he had a record for deflected passes. But again, the guy was, I think he was 6'9", but that was in it. You got to remember, that was an entirely different era. That was in an era when if you were 300 pounds, that was huge. It was a big deal. Now, of course, offensive lines average 325, 330 average. But back then, humans were just not as big. So to me, when Too Tall played, being 6'9" then is kind of close to being 7 foot now. And he was athletic too. But he just, with the boxing, he had too much arm. You could see how awkward he would get when somebody would be in on his chest. Your elbow's up here and you're trying to punch down there, and it doesn't work. Money Moore says, did you know ripping massive farts can potentially spread the virus as well as misinformation? Dan says, remember when you you said Yoon should try chloroquine? Laughing my fucking ass off. Get the fuck out. Oh, Dan. Oh, Dan, are you today's tough guy? First of all, no, I said everyone should be able to try it, and I still stand by it. And I don't know what you're celebrating here. The jury is still out on, and I didn't say chloroquine. I said hydroxychloroquine, and I didn't say only hydroxychloroquine. I said with a Z-tab, because this is what all the anecdotal studies have been pointing towards. So, I mean, Dan, I understand that you're an anonymous douchebag on the internet, which gives you a feeling of being able to be a tough guy, maybe. But I don't have any idea what the hell you're talking about. Oh, and you can suck my dick too, just so you know. Ocho says, I think the best height for boxers is between 5'9" and 11. Great example, Mayweather. Yeah, I think it depends on weight class too, Ocho. But Tyson, Frazier, guys like that have certainly proved that you can be a sub 6 foot fighter in the heavyweight division and be wildly effective. But yes, when you get to be too tall, Ed Too Tall Jones, when you get to be too tall, it is clearly a disadvantage in boxing. There's no question about it. Again, you have too much arm to work with, and punching down is never a good thing. Do you have another Mark Barker? I think he's just Mark Barker is crazy, BG. I think this guy's just a loser. What is this word that Mistress Susan doesn't like? The word that Mistress Susan doesn't like? Which one now? Who knows, Lex? She's been, from what you guys are telling me, she is just, she's putting the old kibosh on all kinds of words now. Let's see. I just saw the news that Trump's drug you almost got it. You're talking about hydroxychloroquine, which was an anti-malaria drug, which he gave to help with the virus, but it's giving a high death rate now. No, that's not true. It was given to some people in a VA hospital. They didn't do it at the same dosage as was recommended. And from what's coming out about that study, what they left out was it was given to people who were already in the ravages of the disease. And nobody has believed that hydroxychloroquine and the zinc additive would take you away from death's door. It has to be given earlier on. It's a known fact. It's a known fact within the anecdotal evidence that's when you have to take it. But I mean, again, Daniel, if you're one of the morons who wants to read a headline and run with it and not learn anything about it, by all means, go ahead. You got a lot of company out there. Did this person snack on paint chips as a kid? It's unfortunate, Johnny. Actually, this idiot's indicative of what goes on a lot. You read a headline or somebody on social media says something, and so I know this to be true now because I saw it on the internet, and that's, sorry, wrong word and info. Yeah, it's completely wrong. And again, as we said at the time, nobody knows how effective it's going to be. My point is, if you know the risk and want to take it, you should absolutely be able to, given that all we have on any drug right now is anecdotal. We have nothing that's been double-blind studied. And to this day, if I had the disease and I started feeling a tightness in my chest from what I've been able to learn about hydroxychloroquine and zinc additive and why they think it works, I would take it. Yes, I would absolutely take it. Only because I know my own medical history and I don't have any of the risk factors for taking it. Should everybody take it? Of course not, because if you have any type of cardiac issue whatsoever, you'd be crazy to take it. But that it's not because of COVID. That's been the case with hydroxychloroquine all along. We know what the side effects are. Chrome says, it's still surprising me that India hasn't had a big outbreak of the virus. They have an overpopulation issue in big cities and poor health standards. It is. It's real hard to figure out there, Chrome. It is. We do know, and again, I don't think this is it. India is the #1 manufacturer of hydroxychloroquine, in the world. That's why they're the ones sending out millions of tablets of it to everybody. And we know a lot of people there have been taking it preemptively. I forget the terminology, but taking it early on or even as a prophylactic. But I don't think that can't be all there is to it. Because even me with being a supporter of being able to try that medicine if you want, even the anecdotal evidence doesn't point to it being a cure. It points to it for being enough of a reliever of the symptoms to get some people through it. So I don't know what it is. You're right. You would think India would be absolutely an epicenter, just given. I don't know. Are they quite as on top? Yeah, with that many billion people, they gotta be. I was gonna say I don't know. Are they as, because India is a big country? Are they as on top of one another as they are in China? I mean, there's an awful lot of people there, and you're right. The health standards there are next to nothing. That I know. Dan says you're not a doctor. Stop giving up advice that you have no idea what you are saying. Actually, Dan, I have an absolute 100% foolproof, undeniable knowledge of everything I've said. Because everything I've said, I've told to you exactly in the context I've learned it. So Dan, you're not smart enough to have even a normal conversation. You really should quit while you're behind. But I'll give you a little leeway because you're clearly too stupid to realize that you're dumb. Brother E says, hey everyone, wanted to once again thank everyone for your support y'all gave me during the time I was in the hospital. Love each of you and very blessed to be a part of this past community. Well, we're glad to have you back with us, pal. We're very glad to have you back with us. I'm glad everything finally worked its way out for you, and it's good to see you here again with us. Very, very glad to see you, my friend. Boondocks isn't considered an anime. No, I don't think so, right? Is it?
Animated cartoon.
But Boondocks isn't considered an anime, though, right? Is it? I don't think it would. The gang here will know.
It's more of the style of an anime, I'd say, because like
it is stylized like it, but I don't know.
It's stylized like an anime, but you wouldn't call it an anime.
Yeah, that's what everybody's saying. Well, that's similar to yeah, huh? Avatar then.
Avatar's an anime.
You think so?
Avatar's an anime.
I guess Avatar's an anime in every sense except where it originated.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
The only way I guess you would say Avatar isn't an anime is if you believe that to be an anime, you have to be from Japan. Mm-hmm. M puts it well. It's anime-esque. Yeah, that's a good term. I like that, M. I would agree with that. And Boondocks is something that I haven't seen in entirety. That's one I really want to see, because you guys remember that have been with me for a while when we could do the reaction video streams. Those were some of the funniest clips of anything we saw. God damn, those were funny. And and without even any knowledge of the characters or any backstory whatsoever, it was freaking hysterical. Saw says, I agree with the term. Yeah, I like that. Anime-esque. I think that's it. I know. I want to see it, Em. I really do. That's what. And I don't watch on my own because you never know what's going to get voted in at the Goosh. But god damn, that was the freaking clips you guys showed me had me piss myself. Chrome says, the visual style is pretty anime. Would you consider Panty and Stockings a cartoon then because of its visual style? Good point, Chrome. No, like I say, to me, I don't know. That's why I ask you guys. Panty and Stocking is definitely more cartoonish. I think it all comes down to, I think, for me anyway, I think you can answer all the questions we have about these. Anything that's in the anime style, does the style make it an anime, or is it style plus being of Japanese origin, or is it just animation that comes from Japan, which then would include panty and stocking as an anime? I don't know. It all depends on your specific definition of what makes an anime. And Lick says if you ask the Japanese, all animated series are anime. Yeah, I think it all just. That's why I think it's kind of a. When I see people arguing about it, it's kind of a pointless argument because it all just depends on your definition. Gimster says, I saw a tweet of Thanos with the tweet saying people in who ate Tide Pods years ago after hearing washing your hands kills the virus. They called me a madam. a madman. Yeah. Excuse me. Sorry about that, you guys. Yeah, the Tide Pod eating was one of the low points of humanity, without a doubt. But again, that's, it goes back to, too, we talk about the washing your hands. It goes back to what we are saying before. We have to remember that when things do start to slowly reopen, that it's going to be a different reality, because regardless of where we go from here, everybody is going to look at things differently. People will be washing their hands more often, more thoroughly. Again, you'd like to see a lot less handshaking and hugging and all that stuff. It's going to be a different reality. You don't know what kind of effect the virus will be able to have in those situations. We're going to find out one way or another. It's got to start reopening at some point. All the protesters are going to make it last longer. Depends, ZZ Gamers. It depends. I mean, I know you hear that cry a lot on the internet. It all depends. We don't know everything about this. There are legitimate, respected epidemiologists who believe that we only had a limited impact on it anyway with social distancing because of the nature of coronaviruses, of which there have been a bunch. We just don't know. When having protesters out there or having things open back up, is it going to result in more cases? Yeah, it almost has to. Is it going to result in a catastrophic load? Not necessarily. That's what at some point we have to find out. And I know people say, well, it's not time yet. It's not time yet. It's like, okay. And I get that. And again, I'm just looking at, you guys know, this is what I do. It didn't affect my day-to-day routine as far as job or anything like that. I'm retired from my day job. I'm just trying to look at it from everybody's perspective, and I can understand where people are that are panicked that their lives are going under. So given all that, we don't know. We don't know exactly what effect it's going to have. And unfortunately, the only way we're going to find out is when things start to open back up, whether it's now or whether it's in 2 weeks or 4 weeks. That's when we're going to find out. Smokey Loki says, Curtis, I think you scared Dan away from his safe space where he shielded from bad things like reason and logic. Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is, and I have no problem, you guys know that, I like a good conversation. I like to have a good back and forth. But if you're going to come in with just ridiculous talking points that aren't based in any type of reality, and you can see it's clearly just stuff ripped from a headline that somebody with a political perspective on Twitter or something wanted to screech about, then you just out yourself as a moron. We have conversation here, you guys know, all the time, back and forth on opposite sides of topics. But that's because the vast majority of you guys come in with your strengths in your beliefs, with your facts to back it up, and I'll give you my facts to back up what I say, and we go from there. But when you come in with just stuff that's ridiculous, you're outing yourself immediately, is what I'm trying to say, by what you bring to the table. USAlt says, after this, I bet we're going to be like Japan already was, with people walking around wearing masks, even there's no illness going around. Could be. It could be. It's not necessarily a terrible thing. It isn't. And I'm very traditionalist, like I say, with things like handshaking and stuff, but I have no problem with shit canning handshaking. I think that would not only have an effect on this virus. If we had a vaccine tomorrow and it obliterated coronavirus, I still would have no problem with saying, you know what, let's not do the handshaking thing anymore. Let's just do a nod. If you want to be more formal and take a cue from the Japanese, do a bow, that's fine. But I don't think Americans would take to a bow. How about a nod? Just a, hey, how you doing? Yeah, you wave and a nod. That's it. Somebody you're more familiar with, you can give them the big nod. Hey! Whatever. I don't think handshaking or hugging as a greeting needs to be a thing. I agree with you, USL. I do think there's going to be long-lasting changes in our day-to-day activities and the way we interact with one another. And again, I think that's a good thing. We'll get rid of handshaking and start bowing. Yeah, that's what I mean. And it doesn't even have to be a bow. You know, if people, because some people I know don't like bowing because they feel like that, which it is not. It's just respect. But some people feel like you're giving up dominance or some stupid horse shit like that, which is ridiculous again. But some people feel that way. A nod. There's nothing wrong with a wave and a nod. You know, and people say, well, what about elbows? That's fine, but why? You don't have to touch each other to greet each other, particularly when it's just friends seen on the street or something like that. And again, this is coming from somebody who is very old-fashioned about that stuff, but I have no problem with giving up handshaking. Honestly, though, people really need to do research, especially now because fake news existing. Oh, crusty bomb everywhere. Well, it's just like when they talk about the the Russians having an effect on the election. The thing they did, they had an effect on the election. It was not at the voting booths, though. They didn't change a single vote electronically or anything. They didn't physically change anything. The sad thing is they were able to have an effect on our election because our people are being stupid. Americans are being dumb. So the Russian farms buy a bunch of ads promoting whatever they want to promote, or even more so than ads, setting up fake accounts and then giving bullshit information from those fake accounts, and people, rather than researching it and going, that sounds a little extreme. Let me read up on that, and finding out that nobody else was backing up that thought, that ideal that was put across there. They just took it and ran with it. So the only reason the Russians were allowed to have an effect on our own elections because we were stupid. That's what's sad. We're going to slowly turn into Japan. Weeb uprising. I'm okay with that. I have a lot of admiration for the way the Japanese do things. You know me with the wrestling background. I'm big on the whole respect thing and everything. I wouldn't have a problem with that. Gimster says, I say we get rid of the handshaking and punching as a greeting. Nothing can go wrong with my logic. Hey, how you doing, bro? Yeah, you would think a punch. It happens so fast. And plus, in impact, when you crush the disease, I don't know. We should try it. Oh, Jack Queen brings up an excellent point, though. Oh, he says, Curtis, what about bad touch? What about the bad touch? Oh, I don't. We'll have to figure. I might have to wear a body condom to bad touch you guys. That's what it'll be. Body condoms. We'll get by it, Jack Queen. We are not giving up on the bad touch. Yeah. I'll order a bunch of triple, quadruple XL body condoms. Yeah. I didn't even think. Ooh, how could I? Me of all people, how could I forget about the importance of bad touch? Waterground says, so no more gently touching tips. I'm sad. Damn COVID-19. Madman says, if coronavirus eliminates sex, I'm killing myself. Nah. And I think, too, just based on what companies like Johnson & Johnson have said, what they're saying over in Israel, it sounds really promising for a vaccine. It's going to be a while. But the companies involved, several of them have said they think they honestly believe they can come up with a vaccine, and not what they're saying, not even one like the flu that works on, 27-30% of people, 27-30% of the time. They think they can come up with a vaccine that will eliminate it. Hopefully they're right. Replace bad touch with bad punch. Yeah, US Alt. No, I would not give up the bad touch, Em. No, would not. And the thing of it too is, I think as a group, okay, us together here, our community, I think we're all close enough to have unprotected bad touch. I'm going to go out on a limb and say everybody would be good for that. And I can say that. Yes, unprotected bad touch, only amongst us, though. Hatupakutso, Jonathan says. Corona Beer changed name to remove confusion about it. How bad does that suck, Kama? That an established company like that with an established product has taken such a hit in sales because people are dumb. I mean, can guys, I'm not a beer drinker anyway, but can you imagine stopping drinking your Corona beers that you preferred because coronavirus is a thing? Jesus Christ. Willie says, Curtis, you're lucky I just turned 18. Yeah, fresh meat. No. Steve says, anyone have a pair of boobs for me to feel? Sure. I got a pair. You know what goes with Corona beer? Lyme's disease. Yeah, Dean. No, it's sad, isn't it, BG? It really is. I mean, it is too bad for that company because they have taken a hit. Their sales are down dramatically because they're named Corona. Give me a fucking break. People are so dumb sometimes. Well, there was a medication in the 80s called AIDS. It was a diet drug that made you lose a lot of weight. I don't remember that one. Was there, Chrome? That's an unfortunate name, too. Jesus Christ. That's even more unfortunate than Corona beer. Brother E says it's very important to protect yourself and keep cleaning surfaces around you. Absolutely. When in ICU, there were many people who managed to distance themselves but still got sick. Yeah, well, that's because the droplets that are left behind. The good thing is I see. I feel differently than a lot of people on the internet. I'm curious to see what you guys think. With what we know about the disease now, as far as places like Florida, I think some of the best places to start opening back up would be the beaches. Because the scientists are saying, no, this virus gets obliterated by the hot sun. Well, if you're going to start opening up places for people to be able to be around each other, you can still do social distancing, don't get me wrong, but for people to be out and about and around one another, if you're going to go to the bar on the beach, that's set up on the beach there to have a beer, and you're out in the sun, and that rail you're sitting at is out in the sun, they're saying that virus is obliterated immediately. It's vaporized by the hot sun. So I know a lot of people are complaining about it. It's like, well, to me, if you're going to start opening up, that might be the better place to do it. They say your true colors showing a crisis. Humanity found 50 more shades of idiot. Kind of money. Unfortunately, it seems like pretty much everything nowadays. I think it's because of social media, people are able to demonstrate their idiocy so much more efficiently that everything that comes up nowadays just demonstrates how many idiots are out there. Waterground, no more motorboating, double D's. M says, I should be safe. I live in a literal desert, yet people are dying here. Well, no, that's not to say it can't spread, Em. I'm just, obviously you live in a desert, but you guys don't live outside 24/7. That's, as soon as you go indoors or even into shade, that negates all of that. I'm just saying while you're out there on the beach is as safe as you're going to get in a community setting, given what the scientists are saying. But yeah, again, living in Phoenix or anything like that, it's going to be great while you're outside. And if you go sit on a park bench in Phoenix, the odds of you actually touching that bench and getting coronavirus are next to nothing. But again, as soon as you go into shade, as soon as you go indoors, you're at the same risk as anybody else. Smokey Loki says, imagine working for Corona Beer, getting laid off because of COVID-19 and then catching it. At that point, I think your next stop is Home Depot for a rope. Yeah, no doubt, Loki. When life is just piling up on you to that degree, yeah, you're just like, God, what the fuck? Steve says, do you think India is so hot that's why it hasn't spread as much too? It could be, Steve. Again, what they're saying about, I don't know, because I don't really know that much about life there. And M makes a good point too. We have hot climates here, but do they spend more of their interactive time outdoors in India than do we? I don't know. I'm asking, because that would be the big indicator as to whether or not that could have something to do with it. If most of their socializing is outdoors in that hot sun, maybe. Brother E says, when I realized I had the virus, was already a few days contagious without symptoms, but I had bronchitis and it hit me like a freight train all at once. Oh, yeah, they're saying it. That's why I'm so protective of my wife, Brother E, is because she doesn't have bronchitis, she has asthma. And that's scary. That's scary. But as I said, we appreciate you having your brother come in here and keep us updated. We appreciated that. Let's see. Well, Steve says, I think they're just indoors eating curry. Kaima says, hey, come to Norway. Corona will freeze to death while we laugh and ski. Well, that it's really interesting too. How look at how Sweden went about it. Pretty much different than most any other developed nation in the world. And surprisingly, I mean, even to me, surprisingly, their curve isn't really any worse than anybody else's. Last I saw it, when they put those overlays together where you can see the curve in each different nation, Sweden was right in the middle. And Sweden basically said, okay, we're going to protect those who are most at risk, and everybody else kind of go about business, and let's get out there, get the virus to run through, and have antibodies, and we'll be fine. And they did not. They, at least to this point, they did not fare any worse over the curve than was average. Because again, it was several days ago, and I know this stuff is fluid and changes constantly. When I looked at it, when you overlaid them against the rest of the world, they were right about in the middle. That kind of makes you lean a little bit towards those epidemiologists that were saying that we can't have as much effect on a coronavirus as we think we can. That there's a couple of very respected epidemiologists that say coronaviruses have very specific lifespans. They're going to hit a very specific curve, and then they're going to go away. It'll be interesting to see. They said there was one exception. I forgot which one it was, but one of the coronavirus strains did have a big number of reinfections, but they said that's very unusual for coronaviruses. North Korea is doing well, and they had a good response to corona. Well, you never know for sure, Miro, with what we get out of North Korea. That's the only thing. It looks that way, but it's hard to say because what we get out of North Korea isn't fact. Well, they're saying Kim Jong-un might be near death, right? So we just don't know. Most of the kill says about to hit 100 here in Phoenix. Summer sucks. Yeah, I told you guys it wasn't long, but I lived in Phoenix for a short time. It's the first place I saw the Globetrotters play. It was only for a number of months. But the only thing I will say down there, if I had to deal with heat, I would rather deal with Phoenix's than with Southern Florida's. Because at least in Phoenix, it seemed like when you got in the shade, because it was that drier heat, it just seemed like when you got in the shade, you got some relief. Whereas down in South Florida, man, oh, fuck. It doesn't matter where you go. If you're not right in front of the effects of an air conditioner, it just defeats you. Brother E says, when in the hospital, my symptoms were getting better as days progressed, but a week in hospital, the symptoms worsened during the Oh, yeah. Yeah, the pneumonia stage. I've been reading that too, brother. A lot of people are saying that that's when things get really dicey for a lot of people. It's some scary shit. It absolutely is. Let's see. Ems was responding to Jacqueline. I heard heat kills the virus, but I hadn't really looked at what temp that occurs. Yeah, I didn't. Not to mention it, Em, the article I read, I don't think they said specific temperatures either. They were more general. They just said that I guess it would just be whatever temperatures from reading the article I'm going by, whatever temperatures we as humans would think is fairly extreme heat. That's the way they described it. They said areas like desert areas, like I'm talking about, like Phoenix, like the southern or the Florida sun, any place that gets that hot direct sun, they said this virus isn't going to do well. And only because, again, you have to remember it's transmitted by droplets. So what they're saying is even if you sneeze there, if you're outside in that direct sun, it vaporizes it almost immediately. So your chances of picking it up from a surface out in the sun are next to nothing. But Phoenix is right above hell, ain't it? Gant says, yeah. Those few months I was there, I know it's fucking hot. Lifer says people who throw their PPE on the ground are the worst. I'd be more angry about it, but Susan doesn't like my words. Yeah, Lifer's got a lot of problems with words, especially in super chats, which I won't get into why that drives me crazy. John Keeper says, I remember going to Phoenix before and saw that sign that flashes the time and temp, and as it was flashing, both said 109. I was like, shit, it better not be like that at 2:30. Yeah, really. we got a problem. Yeah, but that's what they say. Anyway, and the article I read said that that was with a very high degree of certainty that it does get obliterated in the hot sun. that, and and again, this is just reading. I, when I tell you guys this, it's just what I've read from the scientists who study this. I don't take any, you know me. I don't take anything because somebody on Twitter said it or something. And you can't take anything from the news either because they slant everything. I have to go to the science sites and then make sure that I'm picking through what I can actually understand, what they dumb down enough for me. But they said they also feel highly confident that it is going to be one of the viruses that once you have it, you'll have antibodies against it. U.S. Salt says heat kills it. Solution is light myself on fire. I would, I would agree with you. That is clearly a solid solution. Side effects are gonna suck, but yeah. Brother, he says yes. Update. Blah, 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 blah. Asked my brother to update you guys while I was away, just to be safe. When he told me you guys were blessing me, I asked him if he sure went to Spazwaite's Comedy and not an online Catholic seminar. No, he was here, and again, we appreciate you having him come over and let us know what was going on. Jack Queen says, well, you have to be careful because not enough heat will breed further virus, and once it hits 140 degrees, it kills germs. I'm not sure what you mean, Jack. I'm lost in here. Not enough heat will breed further virus. Yeah, but I'm not sure exactly what you're saying there. Yeah, if in other, I guess what you're saying is you can't just have like the sun coming out here in upstate New York. You get a nice warm day in April in upstate New York. If this is what you're saying, you can't go out in the sun and think, oh, okay, same example I gave to M being in Phoenix. I can sit on this park bench now and not worry about it, right? Because that's not going to be hot enough. They just by what they described, they're talking about what we as humans would consider extreme heat. And trust me, in upstate New York in April, you don't get extreme heat. If you get 75, you're like, holy crap, this is fantastic. And it doesn't happen very often. No plans on dying anytime soon, Alibi. No plans at all. Oh, really? Chrome says, I hadn't heard this. Also, South Korea and a few other nations are saying that Kim Jong-un isn't in critical condition, and it was a lie spread by CNN, apparently. That'll be interesting to see how that fleshes out then, Chrome. I hadn't heard that. I had seen the reports about him supposedly being really sick, but I hadn't heard anything else on it. Jar says, I'm debating on whether I'm going to vote for Trump or not. I know that I'm not going to vote for Joe Biden, but I find Trump's personal conduct to be less than stellar. I'll see how he handles coronavirus. Yeah, I'm voting for Trump, and I don't disagree with you at all. His personal conduct is absolutely less than stellar. It's why there's a bit of holding one's nose when you do vote for him. And, you know, as bad a candidate as, and I don't dislike Joe Biden as a person. I like him. But as bad as a candidate as he is, and he is at this point in his life, you'd think if Trump wasn't an asshole, if he wasn't a douchebag from a personality standpoint, I think he would win this election running away. If you had a Republican running who was a smart, intelligent individual and just had the exact same political stances as Trump, but didn't conduct themselves in that same abysmal way that he does, I think this wouldn't even be close this election. Because I know a lot of people are really, really reticent about, even Democrats are reticent about voting for Joe. Gantz, I don't disagree with you. He says Trump's going to win by default. I will say this. I think if Trump wins, it is kind of a default situation. Yeah, I think you're right. Miro says, Curtis, we will continue watching Mob Psycho 100. The second season is fantastic, as is the first. Well, we're caught up. Now, nothing new on Mob Psycho from what we watched has come out, has it? I don't believe it has. Brother E says, being in ICU had to be the worst part of my experience. Oh, I'm sure. People dying left and right from me each day. People had to wear full gear to just visit loved ones. Oh, I can't even imagine what that had to be like. And for those of you who don't know, Brother E was battling the coronavirus in New York City, right? That's where he's from, right in the epicenter. Gimster says, been meaning to ask you this for a while now. If I give some more money, can you please not have post-concussion syndrome? That's how it works, right? I think so. I wonder if there's, maybe I could put in like one of those, you know, like when you go to the market or whatever, and you got the self-serve aisle and you can just feed your bills in. Can I put one of those things in I think that's how it works. Jeez, can we buy my way out of post concussion? My post concussed brain says sure, anything's possible. But that's the post concussion being a dick and trying to grab a few bucks. No. Yeah, just throw money at that problem, BG says. That's capitalism, baby. Yeah, Lex. That's right. That is the ultimate capitalist solution to brain damage. Jack Queen says he thinks that's how it works, but sadly he can't remember. Yeah. It's unfortunate for all of us. I mean, and again, I've told you guys, I don't lie about these things. I'm going to vote for Trump. I don't do it with any amount of glee. And it's sad that those of you on the left, a lot of you anyway, are telling me the same thing. It's like, yeah, I'm going to vote for Biden, but it's just, here's the nature of American politics today, I guess. Chrome says there's enough content for a third season of Mob Psycho, but it hasn't been announced yet. Okay. Chrome's pushed back a lot of development on stuff, to be fair. It'll be the final season as well. Yeah, Mob Psycho's so good. God, that was one of the ones in the far exceeded expectations category for me. That was real good. John Keeper says that's when you turn into Philip J. Fry and go, shut up and take my money. Yeah, yep, exactly, John. Well, I like what Lick said. There's got to be a free market solution to everything. Oh my God, could you imagine? Most of the kills says I think it might hit 125 this year. They're talking about down in Phoenix in the desert. Jesus Christ. I know when we were there, I only lived there for a few months, but part of it was summer. I think the highest we saw, I want to say it was like 109, something like that. It was a long time ago. I know I was keeping track when I was down there as a teenager. I was keeping track. I think it was like 109 was the biggest one we hit. Kama says, rest of the world afraid of Corona. Russia, Corona is scared of you. Ocho says, don't turn this lovely website into capitalism, you pigs. This is a good one. Van Dred says 4 more years, mainly for the memes and trolling. How many? It's sad to say, I've heard from a number of people, some of them, none of them I know personally, but some of them that I've known through the internet well enough to I know who they are. I mean, they're that level of friendship where it goes beyond just a screen name or something. And I've heard from a number of people that they were have been undecided, but now that it's Biden, they're voting for Trump because they couldn't decide which way to go, and they're doing it because they want to see the meltdown. And I hear things like that, and it's like, I'm not the only sociopath in the world. Tim says, I hate to always vote, even if it's a lesser of two evils mentality. I'm with you, Tim. I said all along, I hate those. Just get out and do it. It's your duty. Listen, everybody doesn't have to be interested in politics. And you can try and shame them all you want and say, well, you should be because it's your life. Doesn't matter. If people don't take an interest, that's their right. And if they don't take an interest, I don't think they should try and be persuaded into voting. Why do you want, on either side, why do you want people who are completely uninformed to cast a ballot? I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Well, if you don't vote, you can't complain. Sure you can. Of course you can. Just because you didn't bring yourself to vote doesn't mean that you can't have a voice if you dislike something government is doing. I don't agree with any of that. Again, if you're not interested, don't vote. Nuke the world, Mad Max time, Wick says. John says, Trump may not be the best speaker, I agree. But at least he isn't walking around sniffing kids like Creepy Joe. That's going to hurt him a lot, John. I hope. And again, I'll be perfectly fair. I'm voting for Trump, but I don't dislike Joe Biden. I hope I'm right. The sniffing kids, it does look creepy. I've always been willing to say, okay, that's just because he's socially awkward. And I think he is an awkward person. I don't think there's anything deeper to it than that. But yeah, it's not a good look. That's why I say, Chrome, if you don't know much about the election, probably best not to vote. I don't understand why people always get pressured into that. We'll start seeing the commercials now. Get out there and vote. It's your duty. Rock the vote. Do this to the vote. Listen, not everybody cares. Not everybody cares enough to learn. So leave them alone. Gimster says, translating from Canadian to American, the hottest we've gotten on Northwest Coast Canada was about 95 degrees. It's funny, we talk about the temperatures, and I was talking about the difference between Florida in Arizona. Arizona gets those brutal temperatures, Phoenix specifically. But like I say, when I was there, you could get relief. Now, generally, Central Florida, Orlando, because we go to Disney, the temperature's high, but it doesn't get, well into the triple digits like it does in Arizona routinely. But yet, like 92, 93 down there, to me anyway, and you're suffering more than you're suffering at 109 in Phoenix. That heat down there is brutal. Brother E says one person was an 84-year-old woman who was the sweetest. In her final moments, her husband and son couldn't even go to the room to say goodbye because they had asthma. They had to watch through a glass window. That's sad. I've seen a lot of reports about that. That's difficult. That's having to watch your loved one go from another room through glass. That's as difficult as it gets. Sniffing kids, yeah. I mean, and again, I honestly don't think the guy's a creeper. I think he's just very socially awkward. Yeah, Chrome says that I love kids jumping on my lap comment is going to screw him harder than those kids, him and Bill. Oh, Chrome. Pepsilman says he's not awkward, he's brain dead. I don't think, the only thing is, we all know that he's slipping. He's definitely slipping. But in fairness, Biden, even when his whole life, if you look back, he's always been a gaffe machine, and he's always been awkward. He's always been socially awkward. Smokey Loki says, read my next comment. YouTube is censoring it in the super chat. Jesus Christ. Okay, Loki. I could pitch that bitch again for any that haven't heard. On this channel, I can have settings that can filter out language if I want to. I leave obviously all of them off. I don't like censorship in any form of language, and I leave them all off, and it doesn't do me any good. They censor the shit out of everything anyway. So make sure to catch Loki's next post, guys. M says, yeah, I don't think he's a pedophile. I don't get those vibes. Me either. I get dementia vibes and awkward. Yeah, exactly, M. We're exactly the same place. And even before he got older, I always got the awkward vibe. He's a smart guy. He wrote, I don't know if he still is, but he always wrote most of his own speeches, and he's a good writer. And he's a good speaker if he's got that paper in front of him or that teleprompter there. Get him away from that. He's always been very socially awkward. Very socially awkward. Just watching for Loki. Oh, there's Loki. Some leftists can't have a simple convo or debate without injecting Trump into it. I made a comment debunking the claim that Americans are racist. Most of the replies were basically orange man bad. Very true. In fairness, though, I do know a lot of people on the right that refuse to even acknowledge Trump's failings. So you get it from both sides. You're right. And it's usually the extremists on both sides, extreme leftists. I get into that all the time. If you make a comment based in fact about Trump that whatever it was, XYZ, he didn't do a bad job at this, here's why, instead of anything, any sort of intelligent retort, you get orange man bad. But again, the other side of that, when Trump does and says something stupid, which he does routinely, if you hit him about it, you have people on the right that just deny it. Well, here's what he really meant. No, he didn't. It's not what he really meant. He's a doofus. And he says things that are stupid sometimes. And he makes bad calls sometimes. That's true with any politician. When you deny everything that somebody has done, or anything that somebody has done that didn't work out well or was a bad idea, and you deny it all, you're no different than the ones that you're criticizing on the other side. So yeah, I agree with you, Loki. You see it on both sides. But a lot of that orange man bad syndrome, that there's definitely out there. Brother E said, the doctor said I was one of the luckiest people coming out of the ICU. Apparently it was thanks to my physical physique. My body was as tough as a tree trunk. I lost 35 pounds in the process. Wow. That's a lot of weight. Yeah, they're saying that's true with everybody dealing with the coronavirus. A lot of it is going to do with the innate toughness of your makeup, basically. How well you can resist the disease. Licks, but Mr. Spaz, orange man nab. You're right, and it's sad that so much of the discourse in the country has come down to that. You'd be surprised how many people who, like me, are going to vote for Trump are unwilling to say the things that I've said, like, okay, he's a doofus. He does. he conducts himself like an asshole. He's the kind of guy, if it were real life, if he was somebody you knew on the block, I'd be way more likely to punch him in the head than I would be to have a conversation with him. I wouldn't like him. I can guarantee you I wouldn't like him. And I've always said the exact opposite can be said for Obama, who was somebody I disagreed with almost down the line by the end of his second term. But he's probably somebody I would have a good time hanging out with. But to deny that because you're going to vote for them is just, to me, ridiculous. yeah, yeah, a lot of that, Licks. You're right. Licks is right. While Mr. Spaz doesn't think Orange Man bad, he must be a homophobic racist. Exactly. You have to fit into this little box now because you don't think he's the worst thing that ever happened in the history of the world. Egg says, as a 5G tower, I can confirm that COVID-19 is fake. I don't rate his intelligence as much as I don't rate his character. See, he's weird for me, Jack, on the intelligence thing. I think he is somewhat smart. I don't think he's a genius. I mean, we've had a couple genius presidents. Believe it or not, Bill Clinton, I think, is one of the smartest people we've ever had in office. But I think what intelligence he does have so much of the time gets overshadowed by his runaway ego. Nicholas says this country is collapsing. Well, currently, yeah, but the country is collapsing currently because of a situation that we've never seen before with this coronavirus. Do I think we'll come back? Yeah. How effectively? I think depends on how effectively we manage getting back to whatever our new normal is. I think people on the left are going too far with locking things down for too long. I don't think you can do that to the economy without a long-lasting effect that's going to be even as severe as the disease. And I also think that some people are jumping the gun, depending on the area, with how quickly they want to try and get things up and going again. So, yeah, the next few weeks are going to definitely tell the story. Arthur says, wow, I haven't missed it entirely. Well, I was just getting ready to... This has been one of the longest streams we've had. I was just getting ready. I'm going to have to pack it up soon. I actually did good. I got up early today. I woke up for some reason, so I'm ahead on my editing and stuff. An hour and 46 minutes we're in. Nice. Brother E says, I've made it out, but I did lose 2 family members from this pandemic. Aw. My aunt, 49, and an elderly family member, 70. People are losing too much. Oh, that's sad. I didn't know that. I'm sorry to hear that, Brother E. I'm really sorry to hear that. That's too bad. I've lost people that I know to the disease, but I have not lost anyone that's close to me with the disease, at least yet. And here's hoping. Let's see. I've seen videos. I don't believe them saying Vince McMahon is part of Trump's team in getting the economy back on track. That's good. No, Linda is Stormstar. But Linda McMahon served in his cabinet at one point already. She had a couple failed. What did she run for, guys? Congress? I think she had congressional runs that she failed at, but she's very political. But yeah, I don't know about Vince, but I do know Linda McMahon is involved. Yeah. Peter says, yeah, lots of sticky stuff. Just watch your 112. Oh, DVS was so good. It was so fun. Well, that's my plan here on the channel, guys. It looks like I'll get into that in another stream when I have more time to talk about it. I'm learning more and more about the new reality that is YouTube. And I'll tell you why I think, remind me to do this. I'll tell you why I think, at least so far, we'll see, I could be wrong, why I think we've been able to survive with these heavily cut down anime reactions on the YouTube channel that last year would not have flown. We would not have gotten this far with them. They'd already be done. And I think I know why. And that's what I'm experimenting with here, because I know we all like share it. But there will never be the longer form reactions here on the YouTube channel like there is over at the Goosh, because you simply can't. At the Goosh, if somebody wants to claim copyright against me, they have to do it the right way. I have no problem defending it, but they've got to do it how it's meant to be, and there are too many shortcuts at YouTube to ever allow for that. But I'll talk to you guys about that more. I'll tell you why I think we're getting there. Who knows? Between now and then, when I do it, I might be proven wrong and they're all blocked and gone or something. So I could absolutely be wrong. Uh-oh. What do we type in F for? Oh, for the stream? Oh, for Brother E's lost family members. Oh, okay. Yeah. That's sad. I didn't know you had actually lost family, Brother E. Brother, he says, notice guys are talking about government fighting each other during this pandemic. My issue is the real threat is China. China needs to face repercussions. We were talking about that earlier before you came in, Brother E. Absolutely. 100%. China needs to face repercussions from the entire rest of the world. And again, I know people always get their panties in a bunch when I say that. They automatically think violent. I'm not talking about nuking them. I'm talking about they need to face real life social, political ramifications from what they've done. They, whatever has to be put in place to try and pressure them to close down those goddamn wet markets, whatever we need to do to put a squeeze on China, I think should be done. They are responsible for all of these deaths. I just enjoy officials not being involved. Clintons. Arthur says, well, somebody was earlier, I think M or Chrome, one of them was telling me that, I think it was M, said that now South Korea, I guess, is saying that Kim Jong-un maybe isn't actually on life support or in critical condition. But anyway, when they were talking about Kim Jong-un apparently in serious health problems, somebody had posted a tweet that's obviously a fake, had posted a tweet from Kim Jong-un saying something demeaning about the Clintons and that Hillary was getting them. Nicholas, what do you think about the governor of Florida? DeSantis? I don't know. I don't think opening the beaches is necessarily wrong. I explained why. I do believe we have to start opening things up, but I think it needs to be done slowly. It has to be done with the full knowledge that yes, it's going to create some more cases, but you have to just keep it at allow it to continue, but not overwhelm health services. And it needs to be done intelligently in areas that are not already hard hit and overwhelmed. I don't think DeSantis is at this point doing any better or any worse than any of the other governors. And I think time will tell with all of the governors and with the federal government, with Trump as well. As we start to open up, let's see how the reactions go from there. I don't think we have enough information really to know exactly who did well and who didn't. Excuse me. Arthur says, if the UN doesn't call out China, we need to bail. Yeah, I completely agree. Completely agree. Chinese government censoring the people. Well, that's always, Nicholas. That's why I've always said it is kind of important to point out when you say the Chinese need to pay, the government needs to pay. This was never on the people because the Chinese government completely, wholly dictates what the Chinese people see, what they know, what they learn. They don't know that what they're doing in those wet markets is encouraging the creation of deadly viruses. So it's all on the government. Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, okay. It was Chrome that said it. I'm sorry, Em. Did I give you credit and not Chrome? You guys know my memory from moment to moment. But yeah, I'm going to look that up too, Chrome. I'd like to see that because I hadn't heard that part. That apparently, I'll tell you what. If the news agencies here were running with that on bad information again, the only thing that consistently polls lower than Trump's approval and Congress's approval is people's approval with the mainstream media. Brother E says, it's mind-boggling how Pelosi, Biden, and Trump are all going for each other's necks during this. True. While they and UN need to focus on challenging China for all the damage they've done to these countries. I agree, Brother E. I was saying that in one of the streams earlier this week. Was right now, and I understand it's because everyone's in the throes of the pandemic and trying to figure out what to do. Everybody's tiptoeing around China. Everybody's like, well, you don't want to throw everything in their lap. Fuck that. Yeah, you do. Because everything belongs in their lap. I don't understand this unless it's motivated by the almighty dollar and people like getting the cheap Chinese crap and like having access to cheap Chinese crap. That's the only reason I can think of that anybody is reticent to call them out. I know it's childish, but Trump didn't start it. Arthur says no, and again, Arthur, that all of that is just like we've talked about it. It's all the nature of our politics now, unfortunately. The people of China failed to censor disappeared. Storm. Well, the one doctor there who was the initial one of the initial whistleblowers, and he died of the coronavirus. Yeah, I bet he did. And then you had that other female doctor, the woman, who was also giving out information. Talking about what she had seen early on, and she just last I heard she had just completely disappeared. So we know what happened there. The Chinese government is pure fucking garbage. They are, and they deserve all the blame for all of this. All right, guys, I gotta go. Wow, this was a hell of a stream. What I said this last week too, if you guys remember. It's like Wednesdays are Freeform Friday Junior. Wednesdays are always hyped up. Last week it was with just craziness. This week it was with a lot of really great conversation. Wednesdays are becoming a major stream day. Hold on a second. In my opinion, Brother E says China has committed an act of terrorism on a global scale. Families have lost. Businesses have lost. The global economy is fucked. Sanction China. I completely agree. Because even if it did start in a wet market and it was not anything to do with any laboratory anywhere, the fact still remains. You already had one major virus start in those wet markets. Those wet markets are a breeding ground. They're asking for things like this to happen, and these fuckers continue to allow the people to operate them. It's absolutely 100% on them. North Korea government is censoring people always, Nicholas. Same thing as China, always. And gives her goose goodbye. Indeed, guys, thank you for this. This is the longest stream we've had. Wild Card Wednesday, I like that. I'll forget it. I like that, Storm Star. Wild Card Wednesday, I like that. You guys will have to remind me because I'm going to forget it. Just like it took me forever to remember Magenta. And M, while you were gone, we had a couple of Magenta posts come in, and it took a second, but I did get the word. All right, guys, here it is. This has been a 2-hour stream. So what you're going to get right now is 2-hour sticky stuff because it's been marinating a little longer. That means it's going to have that extra musky odor. Oh, you guys are going to like it. Gather around. You're going to like this. Pound fu, sticky stuff. Marinated sticky stuff for everybody. Marinate for you. Sticky stuff for everybody. Because we'll bang, okay, flashly like Buggy. And as always, most importantly, even 2 hours after the stream started, goose. Oh, yeah, goose.